Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Barbara Ham-Lee. Up next on Another View, it's time for the Another View Roundtable. This edition focuses on politics. We'll discuss the turmoil in Libya and Egypt and the political reaction to events, the latest in the race for the presidency, and hear some personal thoughts on the recent political conventions. Our guests are Roger Chesley, Carol Pretlow, Bill Thomas, and Will LaVeist. And we want to hear from you, too, at 440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240. Wit and wisdom from the Another View Roundtable is next, right after this news from NPR.
Discussing the issues and celebrating the successes of the African American community. This is Another View.
And happy Friday, everyone. Welcome to Another View. I'm Barbara Ham-Lee. We've got our roundtable here today, but before we get into what is promised to be a very lively discussion, I want to just talk a little bit about today being the United Way Day of Caring. And there are people all over Hampton Roads who are out helping other organizations. And many of you know I am the board chair for the YWCA of Southampton Roads. And I just want to give a shout out to T Solutions, which is a woman-owned maintenance engineering company in Chesapeake, the TCC Portsmouth campus, along with the newly elected president, Edna V. Bahari Kolovani, and Hampton Roads Community Foundation and Mass Mutual Financial Group of Virginia Beach, along with Scanza USA's Civil Southeast. All of those companies are working today, over 50 volunteers, helping to improve the shelter at the YWCA and also doing some work at our headquarters. And we are eternally grateful. Just another example of Hampton Roads people helping Hampton Roads people. And so we really like that. So if you're into news and political coverage, then this week has certainly fed your appetite, particularly from a national and international perspective. From the killing of Ambassador J. Christopher Stevens and 3 others in Libya, to the swift and apparently inaccurate reaction of presidential candidate Mitt Romney to the YouTube film that played a role in the Egyptian and now all across the Middle East protests, it's been a week chock full of twists and turns. And our Another View Roundtable has been following it all. Please welcome Roger Chesley, columnist for the Virginian-Pilot, and you can read his columns every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. Hi, Roger.
Hello, Barbara. How are you?
Doing great. Welcome back for the month.
Thank you.
Professor of Political Science at Norfolk State University, Carol Pretlow. Hi, Carol.
Hi, Barbara.
So glad to see you. Joining us by phone today is community activist and conservative Mr. Bill Thomas, because you're out there just taking care of business today, Bill, huh?
Got to do it. Good afternoon, everybody. Nice day.
And we're sorry you're not here in the studio with us, but we know that your voice is going to be heard, so that's a great thing. And author and journalist Will LaVeist, author of the book Fired Up, How to Win When You Lose Your Job. Hi, Will.
Well, it was a pleasure. How you doing?
Thank you so much. So we are going to get into the conversation. We want to say a very quick congratulations and happy anniversary to Roger and Michelle Chesley. And they're celebrating 25 years of marriage. That's a fabulous thing.
Wedded bliss, at least for me, not always for her. But I love that she stuck with me all this time, and let's keep on and get another 25 in.
There you go. Yeah. Congratulations.
Right. And Michelle, he is smiling as he says that.
Yes, he is. Okay. We just heard the news break just before we came on the air. Apparently, the protests have spread all across the Middle East, it sounds. Do you believe that it is still because of this film, or are there other things working in there? Carol, let's start with you.
No, I don't believe it's all because of the film. I think that when you look at the Middle East, when something happens in one location, you can expect it to spread. Now, sure, the film was an impetus, but the undercurrent for that was political. First of all, with Egypt, it was even though they have had the election of Morsi, it's still an unsettled location because of the Brotherhood there. Then you have the situation in Libya, and that was a power keg. The United States has got to be very measured in their response, because you can't, what happens in one thing happens in another place. And then under it all, we all here in the United States say, oh, Al-Qaeda is dead. That was not true. It was never true. And they're nursing the fire. So it's going to spread.
So the Al-Qaeda, meaning what happened in Libya or 9/11.
Yeah.
Roger?
It just seems like a very volatile situation, and I don't know that we know here in this country all the dynamics that are going on. Do we have enough people on the ground there to really give us an assessment of the different factions and things that are going on in each of the individual countries? We know there had been a wave of throwing off some of the autocratic rulers there, but and while we applaud a lot of that, we don't know that the people that are coming in are really going to be friendly to the U.S.
Exactly.
Yes.
And you know, that all plays into it. There seems to be that this was a well-planned attack in Libya in terms of the people who were killed there, that they used the 9/11 anniversary war as an excuse. And, you know, I think it's a time for us, obviously, to be aware, to be monitoring, to try to protect the people that we have over there. But it's, you know, a very unsettling time.
Bill, it was a time, though, when both Republicans and Democrats came together in terms of mourning the death of the ambassador and the other three Americans who were killed. Most of both parties came out to say that they were sorry first before they got into the whole political battle.
What political battle? I heard your little nasty comment about Romney, too, saying that he was wrong. And he is not wrong. We had a bunch of terrorists and thugs murdering our people, and we're trying to collaborate and cooperate with these terrorists, and it's just absolutely outrageous. And the fact that we haven't had any kind of strong message, like a missile flying overhead or a bomb drop someplace on these thugs who happen to be Muslims, it shows a weakness in our country. We've had political discord and disagreement forever. Everybody tends to forget when Eugene McCarthy had called Lyndon Baines Johnson a fool in Vietnam, right when American lives were being lost. This is nothing. We need to have a completely measured strike on these people who are attacking America and murdering, not the death of our people, the murder of our people.
But, okay, you said measured, though. Shouldn't we be, Will, finding out exactly what's going on first before we start dropping the bomb?
I would think that's a big part of the problem, something that Roger said earlier that we don't know. And I think that that's a big part of our whole foreign policy and approach to things, is that we don't seem, as much knowledge as we have, we don't seem to understand the cultures and how people think and the differences. And we always tend to react in our own context instead of realizing the context of the people that are there whose cultures have been existing far longer than Americans. So then we get a comment like we just heard from Bill, who I'm surprised, because he is so much on government spending and cutting back and not being wasteful. And now he's talking about, let's load up and bomb. Okay, bombs cost money. Where are you going to send a bomb? Who is going to do it? And why are we doing it? Do we even, do we exactly even know what the situation is on the ground that we're attacking? But,
But back to Bill, to your point about mentioning presidential candidate Mitt Romney. Now, do you agree that he stepped out and made comments about how the president was handling this well before he understood all of the facts?
See, you're making a statement that's not correct. How do you know he does not understand? How do you know he does not know? This is a political process he's in, and if he's right, then he's going to lose votes. I mean, he's going to get votes, and if he's wrong, he's going to be scorned.
He jumped out before he should have jumped out. Now that we've got a better timetable, we know that the apology that the embassy sent out was before the actual attacks. He was using it for political advantage, and I think it blew up in his face.
Roger, that's what I said. He used it for a political purpose.
Yeah, but he didn't know what he was talking about. And I think you defending him says that you don't know what you're talking about.
Well, you can say something silly and stupid like that, but what I'm saying is the fact that
you already did that for us.
Eugene McCarthy argued with Lyndon Baines Johnson much worse. Bobby Kennedy when we were at war with a hated enemy in Vietnam. They were having these discussions.
But the fact of the matter is, he didn't know all the details before he jumped out, and so he put his foot in his mouth when he did what he did.
Let's let Carol. Hold on, Bill. Let's let Carol speak.
Okay, Bill. My only question for you is why then do you have members of Romney's party also agreeing that he should not have said what he did, and at the time and the timing that he did? What's up with that?
Well, let's listen to exactly what Romney actually did have to say. We've got 2 clips from him, and then we'll come back on the other side.
A terrible course for America to stand in apology for our values. That instead, when our grounds are being attacked and being breached, that the first response of the United States must be outrage at the breach of the sovereignty of our nation. An apology for America's values is never the right course.
We express immediately when we feel that the president and his administration have done something which is inconsistent with the principles of America.
So, Bill, I really am trying to understand from Romney's statement. I don't understand what was the awful thing that he claims was being said. What the memo was trying to do, if I'm not mistaken, based on what the memo said, was that they were trying to prevent exactly what was happening because they knew that this film was inflammatory.
And that's to my point. If American government knew that Americans and our possessions were going to be attacked, we should have done something about it, not be drafting some menu in terms of a memo that's going to do absolutely nothing but make us look like fools and cowards. But we should have actually been doing something to demonstrate the power that we have, and you cannot attack and murder Americans and foul our properties.
I think if we knew where every attack was coming from at the exact time, we would do everything we can to prevent it. It's kind of difficult to do that on a worldwide basis. And for the Republican presidential candidate to try to use this as some cheap political ploy to gain points is disgusting. And the fact of the matter is he's doing everything he can to get whatever few votes he can get from the battleground states, and this just shows yet again that he'll do almost anything to try to win votes. It's disgusting.
Well, was it interesting to you how he doubled down as opposed to even when his own party said, we need to be respectful of the fact that we just lost people. We need to take a step back. And he chose not to do that, but instead he doubled down on his point.
Yeah, I don't agree that it's disgusting is what Roger is saying.
Okay.
I just simply think that he is doing everything he believes he needs to do to try to win the presidency. And it is all political because he also knows that, first of all, do you think any of the people in the streets over there was paying attention to that memo? He knows that. He knows those folks are not reading them. You know how we know that is because even the movie that is supposed to be so inflammatory is one of the most obscure things over here no one has been paying attention to. And so they are all reacting on, I heard that somebody told me that somebody else told him.
Have any of you seen the movie?
This movie is inflammatory and disrespecting our prophet. And it may very well be doing that.
Have you seen it?
I haven't seen it. I've heard the transcripts from it, but I haven't actually seen it. I'm like, this is the most obscure thing that could be out there.
Have you seen it, Bill?
No, haven't. Don't plan on seeing it.
Nobody's seen this thing.
Nobody's seen it.
The other journalist in my household has seen it, and she did make this point that if a similar movie had been done about Christians in this manner, you would have quite an uproar in this country and all Christian-leaning countries about some depiction, let's say, of Jesus Christ if it had been the same way. So I haven't seen it, but obviously it does seem it's interesting that this person, the people behind this, decided they would come over to the U.S. and make the movie, because I know they probably would have been gone a lot quicker had they made it somewhere else.
Exactly. And the reason I think that they came to the U.S. to do it was because the laws are in place to support free speech and freedom of the press. even in countries like Great Britain and Germany, while they have free speech, there is a fine line. Those things that would incite violence or hatred among a particular category of people, a group of people, is definitely illegal and can be punishable. So,
what I'm thinking, if anybody out there is thinking that what Romney said was he was attempting to be patriotic, they are just not paying attention at all. This is just absolutely, I'm trying to win the presidency. The president's got a bump. The polls are not looking good for me. Here's an opportunity to say something. Let me say something to the base, because we got to get them riled up. And, because we got to get them thinking about, Obama and his birth certificate and all this. And that's all this is about. Mm-hmm. That's all this is about.
Let me play the clip of President Obama's reaction, because he actually was specifically asked about Romney's comments.
There's a broader lesson to be learned here, and Governor Romney seems to have a tendency to shoot first, name later. And as president, one of the things I've learned is you can't do that. It's important for you to make sure that the statements that you make are backed up by the facts, and that you've thought through the ramifications before you make them.
Bill, if this is a litmus test as to how Mitt Romney would handle foreign policy, how did he do?
I thought he did well. He spoke up. He did something. If you sit and out in the middle of the road, you're going to get ran over. I don't see anything about it. This movie, while I'm not going to see it because it's just an excuse for the terrorists to have murder Americans that are in their countries. This had nothing to do about the movie or the people who actually did the deed. It was just an excuse they used to try to harm, embarrass, and murder Americans on the anniversary of 9/11. That's what it's all about. Well, and we haven't done anything to account for what they did. And then
Bill, Osama bin Laden. Will go first. Osama bin Laden is no longer with us. What is is that not the ultimate of doing something?
Come on,
what are we talking about? What are you talking about?
Wait a minute.
Hold on.
Even after 3,000 people were killed on 9/11 in 2001, there were still a few weeks before then President Bush invaded Afghanistan. It was, we did some intelligence. We made sure where we were going into, and then we landed. And that was 3,000 people killed. Are we supposed to just bomb some country where there are a lot of innocent?
Yeah, we did intelligence, and then we bombed her up.
Hold on, Carol. Go ahead.
I want to ask Bill, calming down and putting yourself in the point of view of the average American. I know it's hard for you to do that, but just do you think the average American would just look at Romney's statement and approve it?
I don't know what an average American would do. I only can say what I can do. But the man, as he made his statement, I do agree with Will. It is a political circus that he's in to cause him to do it.
Okay,
now, if he's right, then give him credit. If he's wrong, then give him the abuse that he deserves. But I'm not the judge there.
But what I'm saying is the average American voter who would be supporting Romney, would that person in turn say, oh, yeah, I approve of his statement, and therefore, I think I'll vote for him because he's amazing.
Personally, I think they would.
You think so?
Because I think why he did it and what he understands is that here's a crisis. His voice has to also be out there during this crisis.
Okay.
So they're looking for, is he going to show himself to be strong, show himself to be a leader?
Thank you.
And that's what this is about.
You're strong, and then also,
but also if his throwing his voice in the mix will potentially throw President Obama off in some way, then this situation could become something that enables him to potentially win the president. That's what this is about.
440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240 are the numbers to call. Give us a call. We're talking all things politics today, and you can reach us at 440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240. Okay, so I know it's mid-September, but is this the October surprise?
I don't think so. I think that we're just not looking at the situation. And what I'm saying is, somebody told me, Bill, somebody's down on the corner beating the brains out of your kid. You think I'm going to go down there and try to take a survey of who is doing what? I'm going to knock the first person down that I get there. It's just the fact that you have to protect. You have to show power. You have to show
But Bill, what if it's the wrong person? What if you hit the person?
Damage. I don't care.
Collateral damage.
You should be helping them. If you're not helping him, then you're part of the problem. So you're going to get what anybody else gets.
Though my producers tell me I need to explain what the October surprise is, and actually I'm going to give the classic definition of an October surprise, a term popularized by Ronald Reagan in 1980, is timely news orchestrated by a president to help his own reelection. Now it's more broadly applied to any unexpected development with potential to sway the race towards one candidate or another. That's the reason why I asked the question, because some people think that this was an opportunity for Romney to show a different side.
Well, are we suggesting that Romney was behind this? Come on.
No, come on. Right, Barbara.
I'm talking about the broader. I'm talking about the broader,
definition.
not that Romney just, orchestrated this. That's not what I'm saying at all.
When President Obama, then Senator Obama, was running for presidency and the economy tanked, that was his October surprise. That kind of moved it in his direction.
Okay, so too early yet for the October surprise. Bill, question for you: Did you make it? Did you make it to the Republican convention?
Yes, I was there the night that Romney gave his speech on Thursday, and met a lot of good friends. Carl Rove. I was going to send you a picture, and some other folks that are trying to have a contest this election season.
And were you there when Clint Eastwood had his conversation with the chair?
Actually, I thought it was quite good.
Ooh.
You did, really?
Yeah.
Well, let's take a listen. Let's take a listen to a clip, and then we will come back and talk about it.
I just wondered all these promises, and then I wondered about when what do you want me to tell Romney? I can't tell him to do that. Can't do that to himself. You're crazy. You're absolutely crazy. You're getting as bad as Biden.
Okay. So you thought that he was entertaining, Bill, huh?
The man is 88 years old, or something a little bit less than that. I mean, come on, give me a break.
Bill.
Go ahead, Carol.
Bill,
He's an icon. He's an icon. We all got what he meant, and I thought it was pretty good for somebody well into their 80s to even get to that point.
Bill, I have to agree with you, and it pains me, but I thought it was hilarious. But I thought that the timing of it, in terms of moving it earlier in the proceedings and rather than before Romney's address, would have been better. But I did think it was funny.
Thank you.
I did.
Well, let me throw. I'm going to throw this out. Go ahead, Roger. Roger.
I felt bad for Clint Eastwood. I felt like it's the old uncle who you let speak at right before Thanksgiving dinner, and somebody's kind of got to pull him. Okay, sit down now. You said too much. Please sit down now. I think that if some Republican Party organizers, the people behind the convention, if you asked them and they were given the comfort of anonymity, they would say the same thing.
Will, you want to weigh in on this?
I didn't have a problem with what he did. I just think that the way it turned out, he became the message. He became what people were talking about, and not Romney. And he's not running for president. Romney's running. So it didn't work out well for Romney.
Hold on one second. We've got Robert on the line from Norfolk. Hi, Robert. You're on the air. Hello.
Hello.
You're on the air.
Oh, I'm on the air. Good afternoon, Barbara.
Hi.
Good afternoon to your panel, too.
I'd
like to say hello to Roger real quick. This is Robert. Worked for the roofing contractor. I've met Roger a couple of times.
Okay.
Roger Chesley. And Will, actually, we grew up together. He doesn't remember me. But,
okay.
I grew up in
What's your question,
Okay,
Robert?
I know you. All right, my man, Rob. What's up, brother?
I agree with Will with his assessment of Governor Romney, that it was a political move. It should have been more thought out. And like Roger so succinctly pointed out, also that when we suffered what we suffered on the morning of September 11th, 2001, we didn't run and rush to judgment. We need to deal with these people, these extremists, but we also have to realize that we have to take a more intelligent approach to violence. We just can't react. We can't do it. We're no better than that.
Okay, thanks so much for your call, Robert.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate that. Let's go to Alan in Chesapeake. Hi, Alan. You're on the air.
Hello.
Hi. You're on the air.
Oh, okay. Thanks. I was just going to reference this journal article that I had read the other day about how Romney could have possibly better handled the situation.
Mm-hmm.
I know that, there's a lot of excitement and fanatical obsession going on with the politics right now. I'm included in that. But an idea that I think he could have approached was if he had put politics sort of aside, asked if Obama could have had any help in this situation, and if he could have shown that he was above politics to do that. And I think that could have also won over possibly some Obama people and shown that he's a little bit more civil in some sort of regards to that.
Okay, Roger, you want to react to that? Thanks, Alan, for the call.
Yeah, and I think there used to be a time, at least during political campaigns, on those things that were foreign policy, foreign affairs, we tried to speak with a single voice. Now, I think, especially in the immediate aftermath of the killings, it would have been nice had there been some unity on this and maybe save some of the critiquing for later. And I think that was the thing that was the most off-putting for me. I think it was a time to be above politics.
Well,
I think Alan is a reasonable thinking person, and what he says makes a lot of sense. Mm-hmm. But in a political atmosphere, it would have been suicide for Romney to do something like that, because it's those people who are absolutely in the position of trying to not have President Obama become president again, that are committed to that, who would have said, what are you doing? How can you possibly? So the Rush Limbaughs would have been after him on that, all of that. And what is he going to do to help?
I disagree.
What is Romney going to do?
I disagree with you, because Romney's backers are going to back him anyway. I think he might have gotten a little bit of those people those few people who are still on the fence between the two presidential candidates to say, well, geez, that was more reason. That seems to that resonated with me. He's going to get everybody who's going to vote for him anyway. He has to appeal to those people who might be looking for something more. And I think he was probably off-putting to those people who would have been in the middle.
Carol, you want to react?
Yeah, I think Alan is correct on one level, and that is from a non-politicized environment. If you're thinking the average citizen, they'll say, oh, wow, that was a compassionate gesture. I might have paused to rethink my assessment of him, and I feel strongly about being an American, and he demonstrated that. But his response totally was off-putting, and I think it shifted. It didn't garner him the support.
Spoken like a true columnist and academic. Sitting in an office,
I want to go back
writing about this stuff.
I want to go back to a point, though, about...
Yeah, but I report, Will. Thank you.
About Clint Eastwood and that whole situation in terms of what was done at the convention. And I get what you all are saying about, it was funny and he's an older man and so forth and so on. But the particular quote that we pulled, what happened to the respect of the office of the presidency? I mean, when you really think about what he was saying.
Yeah, that was the only thing that I thought was, in terms of his language, I thought that was a little bit beyond the pale. The rest of the language I really didn't have a problem with. I just think that for most people, the next day, they were talking more about Eastwood's speech than they were about Romney's speech. Yeah. And that can't be what the party wanted.
So, Bill, what was going on in Tampa after that? And were more people talking about Clint Eastwood than talking about Romney's speech?
A big-time party, but beyond all of that...
Is it those strip clubs?
Beyond all that...
Republicans in the strip clubs.
I find it really funny that liberals will say about the respect for the office of the presidency. And when Bush was president, he was called everything, might even lacking the son of Lucifer. And nobody, this never came to pass. Additionally, we act like now all of this is happening in a vacuum. It's not happening in a vacuum. The people that are securing our lives and our very fortunes, they have some indication of what's going on. They get reports. They know that things are happening. And again today, we have not had a strong response from the president, especially in Egypt, where y'all love Egypt, that we're giving them $1 billion a year, and we're getting ready to forgive them $1 billion that they owe us. We have to do something. We were just seen as wimps. You know, we're just players. We give people nickels and dimes, and then we take this crap, including the murder of our citizens, without any kind of response that's going to mean something to somebody, to a brute, to a terrorist, to a thug. To me, it's just doggone outrageous.
Carol?
So, Bill, what you would recommend is that the military get together, or they should have, in the situation with Libya, attack and then involve us even more militarily in that corner of the world. And by the way, we got Syria as a wild card. So anytime any country does something that is out of our immediate perspective, okay, let's just bomb them and get rid of them.
We should close Libya's bank account with America and take back our credit card. We should do the same for Egypt.
What would happen with the world economy?
I don't care. I'm worried about us now. When people don't, what are they doing now? They're taking us for suckers. Give me my $1 billion back that you owe me, and I'm not going to give you a credit card for another $1 billion. Take that. In the meantime, here comes a bomb that's going to kill those who's murdering our citizens.
Hold on one second. If you're just joining us, we're talking with the Another View Roundtable, and we're talking about politics today with Virginian-Pilot columnist Roger Chesley, NSU political science professor Carol Pretlow, community activist and conservative Bill Thomas, and author and journalist Will LaVeist. Let's talk to Raymond, who's calling us from Chesapeake. Hi, Raymond. You're on the air.
Thank you. I wanted to comment on Mr. Romney's observations of the embassy statement that he made Tuesday night and that he reiterated on Wednesday morning. Mm-hmm. I think that people are forgetting that this is a very consistent Romney theme. If you look back at his book in, I think, 2010, which he entitled No Apology, he was opposed to the president's what conservatives call the apology tour in 2009, the major focus of which was a speech in Cairo. So I think it was an entirely consistent posture, and he was responding to an example of that kind of apologize first posture that the Obama administration has pursued. So I think it was entirely appropriate, and nobody suggests that Senator Kerry in 2004, Senator Obama in 2008 shouldn't have been criticizing what the administration in power at that time was doing in Iraq and in Afghanistan when American soldiers were at risk, Americans were dying, just as was happening in Libya and potentially in Egypt. No one suggests that Gene McCarthy in 1968 shouldn't have been criticizing what the LBJ administration was doing in Vietnam. It only seems to be unpatriotic when you disagree with the person who is making the criticism. And obviously, I think that Mr. Romney was correct.
Okay, then we got some reaction from two of our panelists. Raymond, thanks so much for the call. We appreciate it. Roger?
Yeah,
start?
And thanks for the call, too. I think the primary difference this time, those other conflicts, wars, actually, have been going on for several years. We're talking about an incident that we were still, the bodies hadn't even come back to the U.S. And we're talking about
actually, we hadn't even identified who had been killed.
Right, and we're jumping out with a comment like this, and we're talking about, and if you talk about numbers, we're talking about 4 persons as opposed to thousands of persons and thousands of our soldiers in Vietnam during that particular war. It just seems astounding to me that I think he should have gotten some of his facts a little bit better, and I think he should have been measured. He wasn't going to get anybody else in terms of his Republican base. He wasn't going to get anybody else with the comments that he made. I think he was opening himself up to derision.
Well,
I think what Raymond was saying is consistent with what I'm trying to point out here. The only thing I would disagree with him on is when he says no one criticized McCarthy. No one. It's not true. throughout this history, there have been people on both sides. When you say things, there have been people who have been for you, have been against you, and that's part of the American-style discourse. And so even when Romney right now does what he does and says those things, it says something about how we are as a nation when it comes to free speech. So it even validates that even further. What my main point is that don't think that this is about patriotism. Come on, no. Let's not be naive here, just like we shouldn't be naive to say, well, he should have taken the high road. He's looking at what is the road that's going to get me in that White House. Mm-hmm. And he sat with his advisors, and they talked about what needed to be said to push the buttons of the people who are most likely to vote for him. And that's what this is about.
So doesn't that say that he'll do just about anything to win? And is that what we want in a president, to do anything to win, even if it might be the wrong thing?
Roger, all of them will do just about anything to win. Come on, Roger. And some of us will do anything to win on our jobs. I mean, come on, this is not new. People doing anything to win.
I'm glad you're not at the Landmark Company.
Oh, please. Oh, please. Maybe that's why some folks still are at the Landmark Company.
Bill, will the candidates do anything to win?
No, I take it. I totally agree with what Raymond, the caller, said, and then I'll take exception to what Roger said.
Of course you will.
As it comes to the protection of my family, my home, my life, and my life culture, I will do any darn, I wish I could say another thing, to win. I could care less. When another American citizen is murdered in the streets of a country where he's trying to give safety, health, safety, and welfare to other people, I will do anything to win.
But
I will do anything. I don't care if you love me, Roger. I want you to fear me. So if you come and mess with me, my people, then I'm going to come radioactive and do whatever I have to do to win, to save my country and my family.
So if you attack somebody and you get the terrorist, but you kill tens of thousands at the same time, or let's say hundreds, is that a legitimate trade-off?
No, I think we have a better science to do it, using those drone planes and things. There's things that we can do that are more strategic.
Some of those drones have killed innocents, too.
Why? That happens in war. And when somebody attacks me and my country and my family, then get out of the way.
Bill,
get the hell out of the way. I'm coming.
Bill, let me ask you this question. Why do you think that may not happen? I mean, we're only 2 days, 3 days into this thing. Why is there this feeling that nothing's going to happen?
For an old guy, you're a me now generation type fellow, so I'm kind of surprised by this, Bill.
Barbara, we could have done some things. We could have done some major things. We could cut off the credit to these countries that allow savages to murder our citizens. We should immediately reject any more credit
I gotta take issue.
That we're given to Egypt.
I'm sorry. I gotta take issue.
I
think this conversation is going down to the gutter. I mean, why are we calling people again? We're calling people names. We're calling them savages.
I'm calling the murderers.
We're calling them this, and we don't even know. You don't even know.
We don't know who did it
yet. Who you
yet.
specifically even identify. What war has brought about results that have settled things for anybody? Why are we so eager to even look and beat the drums of war? Why are we so eager for that? What has it brought about anything positive in the Middle East? Has it brought about anything positive for us here? Look at our economy. Look how much we're spending on wars, on maintaining wars. And so when I come back to you, and you've been preaching so much about getting the deficit intact, cutting government spending and all this, when you're talking about going and just bombing so-called savages who are human beings, who are God's people just like you and I are, you're talking about government money. You're talking about there's a cost to that.
And there's a cost with the people who come back home who are who have fought
that's
for
what
us,
we're talking about.
Exactly.
and who are in mind and body are broken.
Okay, let's take a call from Kevin in Norfolk. Dr. Kevin, how are you?
Hi.
Hi.
I'd just like to give a little more perspective about the embassy and what we could have done immediately. I'm a retired military officer and a professor, and I have a son that's a Marine officer and a daughter who works in the diplomatic security section of the State Department. Mm-hmm. And as soon as those people came over the wall, that's U.S. sovereign United States territory, we could have taken action right then. and avoided this idea of war and doing something afterwards, and I agree with the panel's discussion that we would have targeted people not involved, is as those people came over the wall, they should have been shot.
Thank you.
The Marine detachment was there. They could shoot them. Imagine a Marine allowing the United States flag to be hauled down. Now, the Marines could do this. They would have done it. The reason they didn't, and I have some information on why they didn't, is they were held back by their leaders, their civilian leaders that are State Department employees. And this is an administration policy. The analogy I'd like to give to you is, imagine a United States Navy warship pulling into an Egyptian port, and it's in Alexandria, and a mob runs on board and takes the flag down. You think we'd let that happen? They'd be shot as they approached. That's when we should have taken the action. The people that were perpetrating the action would have been targeted, and we could avoid this whole concept of hurting the innocent.
Okay.
And,
I was going to let the panel react. Mm-hmm.
I think it's a perspective you ought to think about.
Okay, thank you for your call, Carol.
Well, I had a question for Dr. Kevin.
Go ahead.
And that was, okay, we didn't do that. Now what? What is the military perspective now? Should we just say, okay, the hell with it? Excuse me. Let's just bomb everybody and get it over with? Or should we take a more measured strategic approach, and what would that approach be?
This is Kevin. I would say a measured strategic approach. I haven't thought it through, but we missed the opportunity. The rules of engagement, and I would encourage all of the panelists to watch that movie. It's a Samuel L. Jackson, Tommy Lee Jones movie that's based on an incident that is clearly directly analogous to what happened here. And now the idea of using drones and all these, touchy-feely ways, that's not good. That will enrage that government because we'll be killing people that weren't responsible for this. It's not right.
Okay, thanks so much for your call, Dr. Kevin. We appreciate it. We've got about 10 minutes left, and I really want to get to voter registration because I think that this is a critical area. We may get to the other calls that we have holding. Just hold on for just a moment. Voter registration yesterday in Pennsylvania, the justices in Pennsylvania took up the issue as to whether or not the new voter ID law in Pennsylvania was is constitutional. And they discovered that if they were to vote today, they could not use their own IDs that they have at the courthouse in Pennsylvania. Those IDs would not be legal. The question came from them: why the rush? Why not let people vote the way that they've been voting for this election and make sure everybody gets their new ID for the next election? Roger, you've been writing
I've written a lot of columns about this. I've gotten a lot of flack, mostly from, I think, right-leaning and Republican readers, and they say that one of their main arguments is you need an ID, especially a photo ID, for almost every place you go. But the fact of the matter is there are a lot of people, especially the elderly, the very young, and the poor, who don't necessarily have photo IDs, especially if you don't fly, if you don't drive, if you don't have a bank account. Now, in Virginia, we have an ID law that's going to take effect this fall. It does not mean you have to present a voter ID, a photo ID. There are all sorts of IDs that you can present, but this will be the first year that you definitely do have to present some ID, or you're going to have to vote by a provisional ballot.
And then bring your ID back.
And then bring your ID back.
Within 3 days,
it is a better law than a lot of the other states and some battleground states that have implemented new laws, mostly by GOP legislatures or states where there are Republican governors. And the point is, there hasn't been in very many studies that have come out within the last 5 years, this raft of people imitating somebody else when they go vote at the polls. It just doesn't happen. And we're talking about millions of votes that have taken place, and there's been these allegations that people are imitating somebody else at the polls. It just does not happen.
Bill, I want to ask you this. There's an article, and I'm going to read you a quick quote from it, that talks about the former Florida GOP chairman saying that there is no doubt that what the Republican-led legislature in Florida and Governor Scott are trying to do is to make sure the Republican Party has an advantage in this upcoming election by reducing early voting and putting roadblocks up for potential voters, Latinos, African Americans, to register and then to exercise their right to vote. There was no doubt. I was in the room. It was part of the strategy. Do you think that's the overall Republican strategy?
Absolutely. And from a political standpoint, it's a good one. You're not in here. Will has said it 10 dozen times today. You're in here to win. You're not here to lose. And if the people can't go out and get an ID, which I think is absolutely ridiculous, and in Virginia, this voter ID thing is just not even an issue. But yes, that is what they are doing. I don't like it. I don't agree with it, but that's the strategy they have decided to take. And if I'm living in Florida and I'm so stupid, or if I can't go out and get a Florida ID card, then,
Well, when I was listening to the coverage about the Pennsylvania law yesterday, the law says that you have to actually go to a state-run office in order to get this ID, and that there were many counties within the state of Pennsylvania that did not have this state-run office located in their county. So how are they supposed to get there?
How do people get into their jobs? They're walking?
Some of these people don't have jobs.
Yes.
And it's not just this. There's also the pushback on early voting. There's also the pushback in making it tougher to register people by third-party organizations. It's all part and parcel. I think the Republican Party sees the demographics of the country, and they see, and you know this yourself, Bill, that the Democratic convention looked more like America in the diversity of faces. And unfortunately, the Republican Party still has that problem. And they see where the country is going in terms of demographics, and I think that they're fighting that.
Let's take a real quick call from Dave in Norfolk. Hi, Dave. You're on the air.
Hello.
Hi.
I'm absolutely amazed that this is even an issue. Ever since I've started voting, I've always had to have a photo ID. What's the issue? I don't understand.
Yes, you could present a photo ID, but if you had other forms of ID, or you said, I am the person who I say I am, and you were allowed to vote.
And now they
I was never given an option.
You were never given an option. Well, you had the option.
You had
probably
the ID.
just didn't know, but you had your ID, so that it really wouldn't have become an issue for you.
Well, anyhow, it seems to me like they're making a big deal over nothing.
Well, I would suggest that the Republican Party is making a big deal over nothing, because if this were really a problem, they would have tons and tons of examples of where this has happened. And the fact is they don't.
Well, and that's been the consistent theme, Carol, through the whole thing, is that this is an issue that is not an issue. But yet we're making all these laws about it.
Yeah, I could understand if you had, say, thousands and thousands of people who were violating the law or who had engaged in some kind of fraud. But where you don't have any indication that that's happening or very minimal, why is this an issue? And are you not concerned with those some people, some of us elderly, some of us disabled, who may have a problem with this, and don't you care about it?
And just quickly, I think the bottom line on all this, I think this year there are going to be a lot more people who should be allowed to vote who will be prevented from voting. And I think we should be all about making sure that people have the right to vote and do it legally. I understand that, but I think that this is going to prevent people who have the right to vote from doing so.
There's a website that you wanted to talk about in terms of determining whether or not you are registered in the state of Virginia.
You can go to the State Board of Elections website. It's sbe.virginia.gov. There's a link on my journalist Facebook page, as well as on Another View's Facebook page about that.
And we'll also put it on anotherviewradio.org. Bill, we got about 2 minutes left. Do you want to have some final comments?
Barbara, you said you were helping an organization where you were chairing United Way of some kind or something?
Yes, the YWCA of Southampton Roads. Mm-hmm.
Why don't you guys set up a informational booth so you can register all these undocumented Americans who don't have an ID? and help them go to the polls and vote. At the end of the day, I'm not calling these people savages. I'm calling the murderers savages. Because, Will, something that you don't show emotion about that I think you should, because I love this country, the United States of America, faults and all. And I think that's the difference.
Will, you want to respond?
No, I'm not going to respond to that. There's no reason for me to. I think what people should do in organizations, like I know my fraternity is getting involved in voter registration, people need to get out and help people understand the importance of voting and being registered to vote, because not everybody's got access to a website. Get out there, get people registered to vote, because voting and education are the two potential equalizers in this country. This great country that we live in.
Carol? And if you're at Norfolk State University, we have registration, and we have people who are training people to help people register to vote. So please, on our doors in the political science department all over campus, you'll see signs with numbers and all that you can call.
The bottom line, Roger?
Deadline is October 15th. This is a serious election. I would hope that anybody who cares about the direction of our country do their civic duty and the rights of their citizenship and get registered and vote this fall.
Registered and vote. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we are out of time. Thank you so much, Roundtable. We'll see you again in October, and we'll be right back.
Just let it be. The world won't get no better. We gotta change it, yeah. Just you and me.
And welcome back. Time now for things to view and do in Hampton Roads.
You will be my Saturday love.
For you art lovers, plan to attend the Savor the Arts event showcasing local artists tomorrow, Saturday, September 15th from 10 until 6 at the Women's Club of Newport News on J. Clyde Morris Boulevard. Mingle with the artists and enjoy refreshments. The event is free, but canned goods are requested for the Peninsula Food Bank. Call 874-3923 for information. The Barrier Island Center in Machapongo on the Eastern Shore is holding a coffee hour lecture series called Weather and Mother Nature, Are Old Folk Tales True? It's on Friday, September 21st at 10:30 at the center. Share folk tales you've heard and find out if they can really predict the weather. Call 757-678-5550 to find out more. It's time to plant your fall garden, and the Hermitage Museum and Gardens has your fall heirloom plants. The sale is over 2 Fridays, September 21 and 28th, from 9 until 2 both days. Contact Yolima Carr at 423-2052, extension 202 for details. Grammy winner Take 6 performs with the Virginia Symphony for the opening concert of their Pops series, Saturday, September 22nd at 8 p.m. at Chrysler Hall. You'll recall our own Lisa Godley sat down with this legendary vocal group and brought you the story on a recent Another View program. Tickets are available. Call 892-6366 for more information. Single mothers and their kids are invited to the Single Mothers Conference hosted by Union United Church of Christ on Goff Street in Norfolk. The conference is Saturday, September 22nd from 9 until 2. Call 623-1087 for details. And finally, journalist and Pulitzer Prize-winning author Douglas A. Blackman, author of Slavery by Another Name, the Re-enslavement of Black Americans from the Civil War until World War II, will speak at Colonial Williamsburg's DeWitt Wallace Museum on Saturday, September 22nd at 6:30. Blackman's book explores the practice of convict leasing, how it re-enslaved African Americans. Visit history.org for more. These and other events are on our website, anotherviewradio.org, and you can also find our podcast there. Next week, a history lesson entitled 1619. Be sure to join us for that. For producer Lisa Godley, audio engineer Perry Smith, not sure who answered the phones today, but we thank them. I'm Barbara Ham Lee. Have a great weekend, and let's get together again next Friday at noon for Another View. And Crystal Romney answered our phones. We'll see you next week.